Hello and welcome to the Alexandra Wenman show. I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest today, Alison Gowdridge, who I will affectionately refer to as Ali.
That's absolutely fine.
She's an energy therapist and a healer and a channel and an amazing, extraordinary woman. So Ali, can you share a little bit about your spiritual journey with our viewers?
Sure, yeah. I mean, basically my spiritual journey started, I think, as a little girl. I know a lot of people say that, but I was fortunate enough to sort of grow up into this beautifully open, conscious, awake family situation.
That's really rare, isn't it? For our generation, it's like...
I think it is, yeah. My mother was an amazing channel, a spiritual channel. She connected quite easily. In fact, she comes from a female lineage of channels. So I've got a late auntie who used to do the tarot card. She was amazing at that. And then I've got an actual auntie now who's a working medium.
Wow.
So yeah, it goes back a few generations, which is quite exciting. And then my father, real galactic, starseed, truth seeker, was on a real mission to search out truths and research, and he was probably really my true mentor. So I was brought up into this.
You chose well.
I chose really well.
Good parents.
I chose really well. I think the only thing for me really with regards to my childhood was my mother carried quite a lot of fear around persecution, past life. I think things came in, so she was very fearful of people understanding it or being aware of her gifts. So it was a bit of a something that she didn't want to share outside the family. But that said, I mean, it was part of life. You know, if the car broke down, sort of taking it to the garage, she'd channel and she'd connect, and it'll be and more times than not, we would get the answers. Oh, your dad needs to do this or whatever.
Oh, I love your mum. I would have loved to have met her.
I know. I mean, she predicted boyfriends. She actually predicted when I met my then boyfriend, husband now. She sort of foresaw all of that, and extremely intuitive. She was always getting me out of pickles because of her intuition would come through, and she'd say, right, you need to do this. And we just knew as a family that we needed to listen to her. So I suppose with that opportunity to stay very open, I was able to harness. I mean, I never really felt I was gifted, although when Mum channeled, I would often get some information through as she was getting it. So I suppose when I look back now, but as a child, I always thought it was Mum. Mum does that. And my dad was the truth seeker. He was searching out and he'd share all his things like that. So, yeah, so I suppose it was sort of going through teenagers. I tried to suppress that double life situation. I wanted to just be normal. Just wanted to be normal and fit in. So I kind of tried to move away, which I was allowed to move away to some degree, but then situations happened where I was being pulled back.
Did you ever have that time when you kind of feel the call and you go, no,
yeah,
not yet?
Yeah, absolutely, quite a few times. And obviously we've been speaking before, but I had a bit of a near-death experience. Now I can't remember going into the tunnel, but I had an illness when I was sort of 16, and I had an operation, and they say that during the operation my lungs started breaking down and I had issues. And when I came out of that situation, I was a different person. I saw life very differently, and I do think something happened during that process for me as well, and that was sort of in the 80s when that all sort of took place.
You could probably regress back to it and
it would be interesting.
Gather some information.
Yes.
You'd probably remember it somewhere.
Yes.
It'll be in there somewhere.
I think so, because up until that stage I carried a lot of fear with me, because again I think it was through my mother's fear. It sort of ingrained in me, and I was quite fearful of quite a number of things. Not so much spirit, but I think it was society, and I was scared of how it would be accepted, what we did, what my mum did, and that. So it would be interesting, because when I came out of that situation, it was like I was born again. It was like a situation where I saw the world in a completely different way. So yeah, regression would be awesome to try and
figure out
see
what
what's
happened.
going off there. That'd be really,
what
really
shifted,
interesting.
what went on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. The thing about fear is really interesting, I think, and it's one of the reasons why I decided to set up this show was just to and facing a lot of fears doing it, obviously, because it's not that normal. But the idea behind making these any conversation, any topic, anything that stretches our consciousness and trying to bring some normality to it, no matter what the language is, right? Like, I think we get so bogged down in, does that fit into a framework of what we can consciously or rationally think about? But in terms of you, have you seen a shift in you in terms of your own fears about coming out and talking about this work?
Yeah, so I think from the 80s it was a gradual process whereby I was wanting to acknowledge these gifts that I had, but still quite fearful of letting people see them. And then I had a major trauma when I lost my father, which was 2000, and that was a real, when I look back at that time, it was extremely painful, but that offered opportunity for growth massively. And I had health issues, which then led me to look for alternative therapy, which is when I came across Reiki. And that came into my life, which was mind-blowingly amazing. And then that's when I started on this journey of understanding energy and frequency and things like that. And as I started to see it from that side, I started to really open up, and I started to be less fearful of talking to people about it. You know, if I spoke to people about spirit and things like that, you can see people sometimes just shut
You've
off.
You've got to gauge it, don't you? You're like, yes, well, I teach meditation.
Yeah, meditation's a good one,
and then
isn't
they
it?
go, I'd love to see your YouTube channel, and you're like, not sure it's your thing. Have a look, but it's a bit out there. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Fascinating, yeah. So once I started developing that and sort of getting more involved with that, and I was still juggling it between a corporate life, and then people would come to me and say, can you give me some of that Reiki
You're
stuff?
Totally like a forerunner, right? Because it was like, around 2000, 2001, isn't it, that you started doing the healing work? Yeah. So that's still a lot of people very kind of bogged down around that time.
And I think I was placed in situations where, I know I worked at one point in an office where there was about 70 women, and it was quite bitchy and negative, and I used to use these positive affirmations as I used to walk up there, and then some of the senior managers used to say, I don't know how you stay so positive.
It's like Ally McBeal playing the soundtrack. La 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 la.
Yeah, it was
love and light.
Exactly. But yeah, so obviously round about that time I was dabbling with that, but I threw myself into psychic development as well, because I think when you lose somebody so close, you want proof. And I knew he was around me, I knew my dad was there, but I wanted him to be stood there because of our beliefs, yes. So I threw myself into the psychic side, and I found, so all of a sudden those gifts were kind of opened, and I didn't really, it was a bit scary because I was sort of like walking through a shopping mall or something, and I'd be picking up things, and I was thinking, I'm not going to go to that person and say, I've got your husband here, so I had to kind of tone that in as well and bring that down. So it's been a journey from 2000, and then again sort of dealing with that and integrating that into a normal life. My husband is very spiritual, but he's got a very strong religious background, so there was bits that he wasn't sure, didn't sit very comfortably with him, and that, so it was sort of working with that as well. So I felt very much, up until probably about 2012, I was living this double life, a corporate life, and then a mum and a wife, and then I'd be doing and dabbling and exploring all sort of other things.
What is your corporate background? What area?
So I went into event management and then later into training, and worked for venues as well as event management companies.
There's never any mistake though, is there? You can see how it's all married up.
Absolutely. It's all, when you see things from that higher perspective, you can actually see every decision is perfectly aligned to exactly where you're going. Yeah. Absolutely, no doubt about it, and it is amazing that. So
that is brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have plans at any point to start like a bigger event platform? Is that part of your plan?
Yeah, I think I've had some pretty strong visions of a space, a platform, a space somewhere where people can gather, where people can reconnect. For me, it's all about coming through the heart space and I feel we need more places where people can take time out and just really learn how to connect through the heart space. So there's many lighthouses around there, you know, individuals that are there to shine their light, and you know, my vision is to have somewhere where they can come and share their gifts. Somewhere here in the UK, because I think there's loads of hotspots that people go out to. And they must be amazing. I mean, I've not been to many yet. There's lots I want to go to, but not everybody can access that. So I think if we can, you know, create something here, is my dream.
Yes, please. I think that, well, my impression of you and sort of what you're about and part of your purpose really is because you've had to face those fears and your family have had, you know, amazing gifts, but had to kind of work within that, or is it okay to talk about it? It's almost like you're perfectly positioned to create a space to help people feel safe to come and talk about it. I think many of the most gifted healers and spiritual teachers are empaths, and carry a lot of that self-doubt, right? It takes a lot to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I was talking to Nick Williams this morning about leadership and inspired leadership, and how, you know, in order to kind of be your own leader, it's like you have to first overcome your own judgment. That self-critical kind of voice. But then it's like the worry of what everyone else thinks.
Absolutely,
too, isn't it?
It is a big thing, absolutely. But like you say, I think you generally admire people that have lived through it, don't you? Then somebody is just talking the talk and talking about, you know, and you know that they've not actually experienced it. So I think that's very true.
You can see it in people's eyes.
Yes, yeah.
They know. They've done their hard graft.
Yes,
they know.
Yeah. But I do feel as well, like we was just saying, that we've come into a different energy now. As we've hit 2019, it's like anything is possible. And people, I do one-to-one sessions as well, and the clients that I'm getting through the door now, they're just so opening up to things, and things are happening at such a fast pace that it's mind-blowing, really. Well, it literally is mind-blowing, heart-centering, mind-blowing, that's where we're going.
So I want to know a little bit about how you work, because obviously on your website you have that you do Reiki and you have that you do energy healing, and you, obviously Vaz's I am transmissions, but I think there's a little bit more to you, Ali. So when you work with a client one-on-one, what tends to happen in a session? Can you give our viewers an idea? Yeah,
I mean, obviously for many years it was a pretty traditional Reiki routine that I would do, but the more recent years it's developed into something a little bit different perhaps. And I do warn people that, especially if they come through and say, I want some Reiki, I really work from an intuitive sort of place. So I sort of connect in, well, as soon as I meet somebody, we go through a consultation, I will connect into their higher wisdom, their higher aspects. And then I pretty much work from their guidance. So I'll open myself up as a channel, and I will work in whatever way they need. Sometimes that may be I'm bringing relatives through that I need to share information with them. Sometimes it's higher dimensional beings, sometimes it's star beings. I've had them all. Angelic, you know, we've worked on so many. And sometimes we're obviously working energetically around the body at the same time, but sometimes of late as well, I've been getting some quite powerful symbols that I've never really discovered before, that I'm being drawn to use. And yeah, it's definitely changing and evolving the way we work in a one-to-one basis. It's moving on. So watch your space. It really is. It's like,
I always say it's like being your own guinea pig.
Yes.
And like I'm like uber observant of myself and what's going on within me, and going, wow, this is new, this is happening, something else is kind of switching on, and wow, what does that mean, and how do I use it? And I think it's our birthright to have all of these gifts, and I think we're just kind of remembering our ancient wisdom, aren't we?
It does feel familiar, that's the thing. Yeah. Sometimes I work, and I think actually, although I don't feel in this life I've done it before, I do feel I've been doing this for quite a long time, which again is fascinating.
I think you've been round the block.
Probably have, yeah, probably have. But it's like one client, not that long ago, we started working with a pain body, and I vaguely remember touching on the pain body when I read Eckhart Tolle's book. but it came through very clear that, you know, this individual's got a very active pain body, and I was getting this information through, and it worked, and we had a couple of sessions and it worked really well. But then I had to go back and look it up. I need the reassurance that I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? What's on Google about this? I'm always on Google going, is this possible?
Exactly. And it's quite exciting when you suddenly think, oh God, yeah, that's exactly what I got. That's what, yeah. So I work very intuitively. I'm guided. I'm guided to where I need to go, and I just follow their lead, really, because everybody is so individual in the sense of what their needs are and things like that. So
it's so true. And do you work with children as well? Or?
I do. Yes, I do. And I'm finding, certainly recently, I'm getting more children coming forward with things like anxiety. Lots of younger children coming through that are just struggling with this dense pockets of energy that are around. I mean, my two own children struggle with the density sometimes. So yes, children are coming forward. But I often find working with children that actually they are ultimately the teachers. Absolutely.
They know, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, I have been working with a very young boy, and he's absolutely a diamond child, and I just... he keeps coming to me, and I keep saying he doesn't need healing. He's so pure. It's just a frequency. It's a frequency match that's the issue. He needs to kind of deal with that.
Which is like the really our world needs to change to keep up with these kids coming through.
Absolutely.
Doesn't it? I'm the same. I've had an 8-year-old, and she ascended master. There was nothing that needed healing.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing that needed shifting. She was so in her power. Even her parents were like, yes, she teaches us. And I was like, you've been here before. She went, yes, I do. And I know why I'm here. And I was just blown away.
Yeah.
And I've had a few of them come through with past life memory as well. And it's phenomenal. We're actually seeing it happen. All this stuff that was kind of prophesied about is now starting to play out.
It is. It's so exciting, and it's so fascinating, because my dad was really into all that stuff and reading about it, long before really I got into it. And now it's like we're living it. We're actually living what they were saying was going to happen, and that's just amazing, isn't it? Blows mine too, yeah.
I want to know about your experience with the star beings, if you're happy to talk about it.
Yeah. And again, the star being and the galactic side of it, although I was very aware as a little girl that we weren't the only people in the world or in the universe or multiverse, I knew there was more to reality. And like I say, my dad was a real galactic. So as a little girl growing up, he would be studying the sky constantly and would bungle us in the car if he spotted something in the sky, and would chase lights. And I had quite a lot of fear around that, because that was around the sort of 70s, 80s, where you would be reading things about abduction, cattle mutation. There was all these movies coming out, so it generated quite a lot of fear in me. But my dad never felt fear about it. It was almost like he just needed to explore, and he needed to know the truth about all of that. So I was fascinated in his research and the things that he used to come home or read something and then he'd share it with us. He was quite open. But like I say, I kind of took a step back from all of that. And then as I sort of grew older, he shared some information about some contact that both him and my mother had. He shared that from a very young age, really, but I kind of understood why he didn't hold the fear, why he was quite open to it. But he was reading, Dolores Cannon and things like that, and I can remember he'd give me these books. Celestine Prophecy was another one, and he'd say, you need to read this, and I was sort of a teenager thinking, I don't want to read this. I didn't appreciate it at all.
He was planting seeds.
He
wasn't he?
Absolutely, he was, and he was amazing. He was a great mentor. So the galactic side of stuff, I was aware of it, and I knew there was a lot out there. And after he passed, I think it triggered something, and I knew I needed to find more out about it. So again, that was another side of me that I was sort of exploring. Researching, following leads and things like that, but it wasn't something I'd openly discuss with anybody, or
least of all on camera, right?
Certainly not on camera. Not even to my husband, because I think he thought, oh my goodness, we've gone down this route, now we're going down another route, and where is it going to end? I know. So the galactic stuff, but then my brother, who's he's in Australia, lives in Australia, and he's a real galactic. So he was one person, although he lives such a long way away, he was one person I could share this side of our being, our life with, which was great. But I think probably what really hit home was when I started to hear this term starseed, and when I started to explore what that was, and something just resonated, and I just thought, this is mind-blowing. And I think it was Steve's Starseed book. I thought, I've got to read this, and it all made so much sense, and I could relate. And I thought, this is something. There's something definitely in this. So I started to explore it a bit more, and I also started to open myself up, because I knew I'd got sort of a real connection with some beings, but I'd not really explored it fully until I started to acknowledge that, okay, it's okay to do this, it's okay to link in.
But you have to be ready, don't you?
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of facing your own fears that you need to get through, and trust your discernment as well, because there is a lot of energy out there that you don't know about. It's the unfamiliar, isn't it?
I think that was it for me. It was making sure that I was operating from the right space. I was reaching the higher frequencies and not getting, because I think if I had started to tap into anything lower or negative, it would have thrown me, and I probably would have said, no, I'm not doing that. So I know I was being guided by my higher wisdom to kind of be in the right place before I started doing that. But yes, I mean the galactics and tapping into a collective, which I've done for a number of years now, and I channel information through, which I detail in blogs that I share.
It's just like the energy has just ramped up in here. Sorry,
as
soon as we're talking about it,
it's very. At the moment, the galactic energy seems amazing, doesn't it? And I feel the presence and the purpose of why we're moving into that.
So the guides are coming in, and they're asking me. They want me to ask you how you experience their energy, how you experience your connection.
Okay, so if I'm working just by myself, I will take myself into sort of a space where I'm sort of centering myself, almost like a meditation, but not quite at that level. And I will just start to open myself up, but I just feel this energy. It is like love energy. It's very uplifting. Their presence, they do literally lift me. And then I'll find that you can feel it, can't we?
So
and then I'll find that I'll start to bring information around. And subject to how I'm channeling that information, if I'm writing, I usually type. I'll literally just start typing, and I don't really know what's coming next, but I'll be guided and it'll just come through me. If I'm speaking it, then I usually close my eyes and it'll come through, and I'll just go into that space and allow them to come through. But it's not like a trance state, because I'm very aware and I'm very open. But the energy that they bring, the group that I tap into, is very uplifting, very light, very, very, I don't know, it's not powerful, but I can't really it's very hard to sort of define.
Do you feel yourself as part of that group?
I do. Yes, I do. I do feel, and I have had a few images where I felt I'm on a ship, and that's an aspect of me, and I'm here as well, living out.
I have the same thing, and I think it's really important for people to know this, right? That it's not. This is all part of our multidimensional consciousness. It's actually not something weird and out there.
No.
It's like we're experiencing ourselves at a higher vibrational level.
Absolutely.
And anything in our outer world is a reflection of us anyway, ultimately, isn't it? And
yeah, absolutely.
if people going on, you mustn't channel star beings, you should only channel your higher self. And I'm like, well, it is my higher self.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all connected. It's all part of it.
It's almost like on a physical level, it's not acknowledging the left arm or the right arm or something. It's part of you, isn't it? And for so long, we're in a society that just believes that we're just a certain thing, but actually as we evolve, as we open ourselves, as we expand, we're starting to realise that actually that's not the case. That's not the case at all. There's so many aspects to us, and as we can see that we've got aspects that we may consider as lower, inner child, ego, or higher self, I am, whatever you want to term it. There's other aspects outside of that as well, isn't there? So
many. Why do they keep showing me crop circles around you? Do you have a fascination with crop circles?
I did channel something which I've got recorded, which is on SoundCloud actually, which is, I connected it in to see, because I don't know if you noticed, but last year we seemed to have so many crop circles.
Yeah.
And I knew there was a real purpose why they were coming through. So I did connect, and I got quite a nice message through about the crop circles. I am fascinated in crop circles.
Are we able to share that message? Or
you know what? I'll have to. I've got it on SoundCloud, which is accessible, so we can share it.
Like a link to it under
absolutely.
So people can listen.
It was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating, and I do feel these crop circles are going to come more and more, because I think it's part of this journey, this awakening, this shifting.
I do. I think they're like gateways in consciousness, aren't they? They're almost like when you see the 11:11.
Yes.
It's like an awakening. It's a signal to your consciousness to go, and question.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most powerful thing we can do is question everything. Start to go, are things really what we think they are?
Absolutely.
Or is there more out there? And it's like my guides always say, there's a couple of phrases that they repeat always when I'm channeling, and that's when I always know that the channel is pure and it's right and it's aligned. And they often will say, the time has come, or the time is now. And I've seen a lot of other channels will also bring that message through. The time is now.
And I've had a message with the time is now as well.
There you go.
So it's, absolutely.
The other one is remember who you are.
Yes.
Often I get that.
Yes.
And then other times I will get, it is written.
Wow.
It is written. And they will often say that. And my mum, I channeled a message from my mum years ago when I was in Egypt. It came from Sekhmet. And my mum is very Catholic. Like she's very spiritual, but she did everything through the Catholic Church. And when I sent her that message, I didn't know, I hadn't heard the it is written thing before. So I was like, how come they're saying it is written? Sent it to my mum. And she went, I know this is absolutely on point because you put the it is written. And she said, that's how my guides will tell me. Like, it's like a calling card. It's like, but ultimately I think it is, the first thing to remember is our feeling, right? We feel, you'll feel if the energy's off. If you have any question mark over it, I just go, no.
Yeah.
It has to feel 100% right and good. And I get this overall, what you described, like sense of well-being and upliftment. It's just beautiful. It's so lovely.
And absolutely. And it's remembering that actually, ultimately, you are in control.
Yeah.
You know, nothing's taken over you. Nothing's doing anything that you're not giving it permission to do. And you are in control. And if it's something that doesn't feel right, or you don't want to go there, then you just say that. And, that's absolutely right. I think that's quite an important one, isn't it, really?
That's it. It's part of our normal, it's just part of our normal awakening consciousness. I think of it as like, I often say it's like, well, I came from a very small town in Australia and I thought that was my whole world.
Yes.
And when I moved to Sydney, the world got bigger, and I moved to London and the world got bigger. And that's what's happening with our brains.
It's expanding.
Yeah.
It's moving out. We're opening up. We're expanding. And with that comes a little bit more information, You're constantly moving it out and out. And it is fascinating. And then when you start to bring in that awareness to your own life, like you say, when you look back on your life and you think, actually, I know why I did that. I know why I met that person. I know why that happened. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that at the time you think, why am I doing this? Well, I did jobs in the event management side that for years I thought, why am I doing this? Why am I here? But I think at that time I always knew there was a reason why I was doing it. So it is, as we expand and see more of the world, we also expand and open up to this awareness, which is amazing. I love it.
So what do you think is happening on our planet right now? Where do you see the kind of future of Earth?
Good question.
Sorry, quite a big question.
Very big question. Well, I feel energetically and scientifically we've had it proven that the planet already is shifting. It's moving, it's changing, and like you say, the Schumann resonance, we're seeing that's increasing. That's being measured. Scientifically, it's been proven, and that's moving. And I think with that, for us to be part of that journey, we need to do the same. So we're heading for this shift. We're heading for this evolution, this ascension. I mean, ascension is a word, it's ironic actually, because my parents had talked about ascension, never used the word ascension, but with their information that they were gaining back in the 60s and the 70s, certainly when I came along in the 70s, they were talking about the planet was changing.
Yeah.
We were heading to a more harmonious, more love-based planet. We was moving away from fear, living more in communities, by the land, you know, money was going to become different or obsolete, and they were told all of this.
It's all happening. It's nuts, isn't it?
And it's exactly where it's going. But obviously we're going through a period of breakdown and chaos.
Yeah, it's the dual.
Exactly. But then with it, this expansion and this seeing things differently, and you see it in every day. You see it all the time. You know, people that you probably would think would be completely not open will suddenly say something. Or my husband came home the other day, a business acquaintance of him, he was talking about number patterns, and my husband had to come home and say to me, "What's this about number patterns?" And I was like, there we go.
My little sisters are starting to question now. They're like, they ring me up, "What's the event? Heard about the event?" And I'm like, yes, I've been speaking about this. So with the term ascension, a lot of people, I think, find that word a little bit overwhelming. But in your terms, like, I mean, some people believe that eventually we're going to not have physical bodies and we're going to leave and be. I mean, I think that possibly is happening further down the track. That we're vibrating at a higher, faster rate, right? But it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
There's a transition.
No.
So, what's your take on ascension? Like, what does that word really mean?
Well, I think ascension is a word that's come about of much more recent. It's not something that were talked about years ago. And I think the way I see it, the way I feel, is we will go through a period of, we will still be physical. The frequency will increase. And to me, the way I see frequency is, it's a spectrum, it's energy. Energy is there's only one type of energy, and it vibrates at a different frequency. And if you're fear, you vibrate slowly, and if you're love, you vibrate quickly. So I feel what's going to happen is we are going to shift to the love end of the spectrum. So we're going to be vibrating very, very quickly. Frequency is going to be increased. And I think we won't shed the physical bodies, but we will become much lighter. So we will see away with disease, our bodies will become more harmonious, so we'll shed some of the denser stuff that keeps us lower frequency. And that obviously will come in line with the planets, because obviously that's what's happening to her. She's moving, she's shifting, and for us to stay involved and part of her, which we are, we need to follow suit. So the foreseeable future, I feel we're still going to be physical. I feel we're still going to, and I feel everybody's got an opportunity to go down this path. I feel I don't think anybody will be, there's no judgment day or anything like that. I feel we all have this opportunity. Some souls, due to their contracts, may decide that they're going to take a different route. But I think there was a lot of talk a number of years ago, which was very fear generated. I mean, I had clients approach me saying, well, apparently there's a timeline split and we've got to decide whether we're going to go to the new earth or and what about my children? And I just said, that's just
it's like,
so
do we jump ship or not? No.
I don't think it's going to be like that. I can't see it like that at the moment. If we're generating this high frequency love, it's got to be of that. It's not going to be fear based in any sense. So I think we will create this heaven on earth. I think we will create a planet. I don't think it's anywhere else. I think it's frequency based. It's here. It's already here.
It's already here.
It's already here. And some people do tap into it. I feel sometimes I wake up and I feel like I've stepped into a different world.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's as simple as it's just a shift in perception, you know, and it's like, you don't become a completely different person.
No.
You're still you, but you're it's like we're shedding these almost like layers or these false masks that we wear in order to fit in, and we're just becoming more of our true selves.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's what they mean by the term, like, shining ones.
Yes.
You know, we're becoming almost angelic, which is our true nature. We're returning to that, and I don't believe angels are outside of us either. We are the angels encased in human form. We're the divine in human form, and I think, you know, we're just starting to, like you say, resonate, vibrate faster, shine brighter,
absolutely,
be unapologetic about who we are, and just living our joy. And what
and
could be wrong with that?
Exactly.
You know?
And I think the other thing we'll start to realise as well is, because we are energy, we create outer energy. So we create our reality. So once you start harnessing that, that will make you change what you do and how you approach things, because you don't want to attract negative things, or, I mean, again, it's looking at it polarity, negative and positive, and I do feel we're going to move away from that. But it's almost like you're going to be understanding how powerful you are, understanding that we are creators, and we can work with that, and we are the ones that are going to create this new earth, in the sense of, so that we can experience it. So it's very exciting.
It's amazing.
It's very exciting.
I think it's so important, our perception. Like, it's not about ignoring what's coming up to heal. It's not about ignoring the shadow that's always going to be there. But I do think it's really important, especially if you're on this awakening path, not to go into that fear resonance, and to hold the highest and best vision possible for this earth, because we are creating it as we go along. I just see it as this beautiful garden.
Yes.
And I think I have ever since I was a child, and you're the same, right? Like, I just, walk outside and go, wow, there's flowers and the sun's shining and the world is beautiful. It's still beautiful.
And then it gets more beautiful, doesn't it? Because when you approach life like that, this gratitude, and I wake up, I mean, I'm fortunate, I live in the countryside and it's beautiful, and I wake up and I'm so grateful, but it seems to get more beautiful. I think it's the gratitude that brings more beauty, and then you can really feel like, my God, this is heaven. I think I've said that before to other people, and they think I'm crazy, but I think you've got to approach it like that to experience it.
Well, scientists have done tests on it, haven't they? They've said that, the quality of light changes when somebody is observing it, right?
Yes.
And I do believe that if you look at the world around you and you appreciate it and you have gratitude, and a person as well, think about how nice it is when someone appreciates you, and you don't even need them to say it. If they see it in you, you feel uplifted.
Absolutely.
We're changing the particles and the waves.
Absolutely.
Just by, it's Masaru Emoto with the water.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's amazing. And water's another amazing thing as well. I mean, I've channeled a little bit on water, and water is a consciousness. So likewise, we're made of water, and there's water on the planet, and if we start to acknowledge the power of that as well, it's just absolutely fascinating.
So gorgeous. What was your recent there was a recent channeling you put out that was so beautiful. I think it was the Councils of Light that you did. I'm trying to think which one it was.
Trying to think. I did one quite recently which was about manifesting your dreams, and it's really now time, and I do feel it is. It's really, as we've stepped into this new year, this new cycle, this new energy, it's really now about visualising what you want the world to be like, because the power of doing that and creating and manifesting now is so strong that if we all collectively saw that vision, I feel it would be overnight that we would experience that. So it's about moving into that love vibration. It's about visualising, really harnessing how you want to be in this new earth. And like you say, it's not about becoming some spiritual god or anything like that. It's being you and how you want to experience that new world. And I think we've all got the power to actually do that here and now. I don't think we've got to wait for any event. I don't feel there's going to be anything that's going to come along to make us realise that.
No, I don't feel we're in I feel like a lot of us are holding in our collective cellular memory a fear of some kind of major catastrophe, and I keep having dreams recently, like sort of post-apocalyptic weird dreams, and I feel like it's just old patterning moving out, because I don't think that's going to happen again. I think we're now on this whole new epoch, it's whole new horizon that's never been seen before on this planet, ever, has it? And it's such an exciting time because we don't know how it's going to play out. But I do feel like I do know that it's going to be amazing. It already is amazing. It's extraordinary, and I do invite people who are watching this to be your own guinea pig. Just start to observe yourself as you go through your awakening, because the evidence is happening within us. Absolutely. Right? It's like, it doesn't matter if you read it in a book or if somebody else channels it. I feel like we are experiencing. You can ask for evidence, like, show me. That's the best bit, isn't it?
It is. And I do think as well that we're all going through this awakening now. I think there is people that have probably been what you would term in a very deep sleep, but they are starting to wake up now. And whether they've acknowledged it or whether they're searching is another question, but I do think we're all in the energy now where we have all been awoken, we've been prodded
or kicked, or
yes,
had the rug come out from under us.
And it goes back to this, I suppose it goes back to this that we were talking about before. It's about us light workers or way showers or whatever you want to term it. It's about being authentic. It's about us standing in our light so that we can allow others to do the same. I think that's a really big thing for us at the moment.
Because there are so many people now out there channeling and doing extraordinary things. Why do you think that there's so many channels around at the moment?
I think we are natural channels. I don't think anybody is special that's been gifted. It's like we're naturally psychic, we're energy, so once we open up to the realisation that we can pick up energy, we can read energy, we can feel energy, we can bring energy through us, then it's a gift that we all have, I don't feel. So I think maybe with this awakening process, more people are realising that. Yeah. More people are realising. And again, it's how you view that. It's if you're viewing it that you're bringing through other beings, or are you viewing it that you're bringing through your higher aspects? Yeah. And being that, parts of you. And that's a big thing as well, isn't it? If you're thinking, I'm bringing through whoever, ascended masters or angels, but then you delve in deeper and you say, well, is it? Or is it an aspect of me that's angelic? Or it's an aspect of me who's an ascended master? So it's like, say, another layer. When you see yourself separate, you see it as a separate thing. But when you start to realise the interconnectedness of things, you actually see it that it's part of you. Yeah. And that, again, is mind-blowing. Yeah.
Or even part of your soul group, like some of my guys, I've felt myself as these star beings. But I've also had, like my husband, one of my Pleiadian guides is my husband on a different vibrational level. Wow. And the day I discovered that, I was like, well, you're like this wise being. Why is he so asleep? What's going on? But it made me kind of go, okay, I get it now. He's on his own path. It's fine. But it's really comforting. And it's often like when I'm working with people and connecting them with their guides, and inviting their guides in, I'll say to them, does this being feel familiar? Does this being remind you of somebody in your life now? And most of them will go, oh my God, it's my brother, or oh my God, it's my friend, or this person I met. Or it's someone that's coming into their life that they haven't connected with yet. Yeah. It's quite simple, really. It's not that, the universe is massive, but it's also very simple.
It is very simple. If you think, if you go back to the fact that we're energy, and then we are a drop of energy, and then we express, and then we go off onto our journeys, and but you strip it right back to energy, and we're part of the source, and it's very simple. Yeah. People do complicate it, and I do find I've moved away more recently through the teachings that do complicate it, that use the big language and make it seem like you've got to be a guru, or you've got to be somebody who's reached a level of mastery in this life. I don't think it's about that. I don't feel that. I feel everybody is here to play a part.
The old spiritual one-upmanship is
absolutely
done.
Yes.
I always think your best competition is yourself, where you were before, right? You're like, okay, so now I've come to, wow, this is like, oh God, and you think, I always think if we think we know it all, we're really limiting ourselves.
Absolutely.
I am of the complete idea of I know nothing. No matter how much I know, I really don't know anything.
And I think that's it. And the more I delve into something, the more I realise I don't know. The more I learn, the more I remember or absorb or whatever, and the more I realise there's so much I don't know.
There's so much, and I'm curious for more. We're so hungry for more.
You're thirsty for it.
So thirsty. I wanted to ask you too, Ali, in terms of the way you are experiencing energy and spirit and these light beings now, is it becoming more physical for you? Is it becoming more tangible? How do you?
It's definitely changed. It's become, it is becoming, I guess, more. I've always been quite physical with regards to when my mum channeled. It was a very physical mediumship that she did. So I would find that I was attuned to that. But I guess what you say, yes, it's changed, and it's becoming something that's more sort of reality felt. You're bringing it through stronger, I suppose, is what I'm trying to think. So I would say it has changed. It's just fascinating.
So fascinating.
It's just a fascinating journey, and then I find I'll meet clients and they'll bring through a completely different group of guides, beings, and then you'll experience something completely different. And that's the excitement of, I think, what we do when we connect with people to help them on this journey. And I do feel it's, I just act as a channel and I just kind of help them realise that it's all there inside of them, we sort of reconnect them to themselves really, and that's it. But it is wonderful to watch that and observe that.
Amazing.
So everyone's different.
And do you find that your gifts change depending on who you're working with as well?
Absolutely.
The way you use them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's completely led by the individual and their needs really. It's all. I feel it's always connecting higher aspect to higher aspect. So you work, and again, I feel that people are drawn to me because they know that connection will help them. And I'm blown away by the people that do come to me and the journey that we go on with it, because it is all so fascinating. So. Yeah,
I love it. I love you because I just love how normal you are with it. That's what I think what we need to be. Just
it
normal
is about
people
making it normal.
Yeah,
it is about making it normal, making it every day, making it acceptable, being able to be authentic. That's the biggie for me. Being out there, being authentic. And yeah, I suppose that's it. I've decided, no, I'm just going to be normal. It's just going to be part of me, and they either accept me or they don't.
Exactly. That's it. So what have you got coming up in the future? What are your plans with your work and with your spiritual work specifically?
Well, I run monthly Divine I Am planetary light transmissions, and they seem to be taking off really well. So I run those in Derbyshire. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to look at running them a little bit more frequently because we're filling.
Are you going to run any retreats down there?
I'd love to run some, and I have thought. I mean, when I set the Facebook group up initially, it was to gather interest on retreats. So I do feel I am going to get out there and do something like that. So watch this space on that side of things.
I could do with a trip to the country.
It's a beautiful part of the country as well. And then obviously I offer the one-to-one sessions as well, so I'm going to carry on doing that and see where that leads me and where that takes me and go from there. And then if this dream materialises of this wonderful retreat, that's watch this space, we'll see see where we go on that one.
And then there's seeds of a school, I hear.
Well, you set that seed. I do know my life purpose does involve children, and I did go back to university and did a teaching degree, which I graduated in 2016. So I know I've done that for a purpose as well. And like you say, I'm seeing more children being drawn to the energy work. So there is something happening along those lines, but it's very early stages. I think that's going to watch this space.
I think there's a bigger thing kind of rolling out, seeds being planted of types of schools or and maybe not even just strictly for children, but just like lightworker schools opening up all over the place. There's already so many, but it feels like there needs to be something like that to support children, because the school system as it is it more shuts them down, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I mean, I've got two very sensitive children, and the system, and we're fortunate that they've gone to a very lovely, very small rural primary school, but my daughter's now gone into secondary school, and the system really failed her to start with. She's settling now, but she just struggled with everything, the social aspect and the structure and the testing.
They really think differently, these kids.
Absolutely.
They're much more holographic, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think they don't learn in that linear way we were taught.
We're moving away from the linear way, aren't we? So totally. Why are we still teaching these children in that way?
Archaic, darling.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, the education is something I feel will happen, but it's all divinely timed, and we'll see where that goes.
Amazing. I love it. So Ali, how can people find you online?
Okay, so I've got a website which is energyhealingwithaliGowdridge.co.uk. I also have a Facebook group which is called Ascension the Journey. We've got a great group of heart-centered souls that share magic in there, so please join if you would.
And Ali, you're so lovely. Letting us share in your group is so lovely.
That's what I created it for.
Community, isn't it?
It's creating that community, absolutely. So no, absolutely, I absolutely love it. So yeah.
Amazing. And is there any parting words you would like to leave our viewers with?
I think it's just probably seeing the magic in our world, because like Alexandra says, we have this beautiful garden, and once we open our eyes to it, we really will see that it is so magical. And that's it.
It's amazing. Oh my god, I could talk to you until the cows come home. I'm like, we're going to carry on chatting now. But thank you so much for watching. Ali, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I've loved it.
Oh, it's been great. But thank you so much for dropping in on the Alexandra Wenman show and meeting the lovely Alison Gowdridge. And as usual, if you have any comments or questions or queries, please comment below. Anything, any suggestions for topics that you'd like me to talk about or people to interview, I'm always open. And thank you for joining me here. I hope to create a beautiful community of souls, and your support. I just want to share my gratitude for you guys for watching and supporting the show. So thank you so much. And on that note, loads of love.
Thank you. Bye.